Welcome to the In My Opinion show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Also, folks, we are going live, okay? And welcome to the In My Opinion show on All Points TV via YouTube. I want to welcome our very talented co-hosts, Mr. Henry Hatter.
Good afternoon, Ron.
Ms. Jackie Williams.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Mr. Michael
Kelly. Michael Kelly. There you go.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Michigan State University and Dr. Larry Nassar, sentenced to 40 to 170 years for his pedophilia rape of over 160 young women. Outrageous. These women are ruined forever. He preyed on these young women for years. Complaints were lodged with university officials for years to no avail. President of MSU resigned in disgrace. In my opinion, all the regents should also resign. This situation went on for years, and a reasonable thinking person could not believe that these people weren't aware of this. Let's start a fresh new regime, if you call it that, at MSU. Mr. Kelly, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, it's not just going to be MSU. This is particularly bad case, and there were failures on many institutions. The university failed, the American Olympics Committee failed, and many individuals, because these young women did complain. I'm sure there were more that we haven't heard from, but many did come forth, and they came forth years ago, and they made their complaints, and they were told we'd take care of it, and they were subjected to the same treatment again and again, and that is an institutional failure. We can focus a lot on MSU, but we have to be aware things like this happen throughout our society. We are talking about the use of power, the way powerful people deal with people with less power, and whether it's sexual or economic or any of the other forces that motivate people. Let us not say, okay, we'll take care of it at MSU and everything will be good. No, we need to use this as a learning experience. There need to be consequences for the people who had responsibility, because if there are no consequences, there will be no change. But as bad as the situation was at MSU, that should make us aware that these situations exist and well may exist right under our own noses in the institutions and the organizations we're all part of.
You know, this also could send MSU into bankruptcy, because you know there's going to be one heck of a lot of lawsuits. Yeah. Jackie, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, you spoke very well, Mike. And this is definitely a situation. If you're a woman, you're feeling the Me Too. That's the movement moving right now for all the women that have been abused over the years, whether it's in TV, whether it's political, like you said, economical. And what we're finding that is a lot of people that are at fault are powerful people, and they have abused their power to get women to do things just so they can put food on the table, and it's not fair, and it's abusive, and it's been hidden for years. And I just found out that Congress even had a slush fund to pay off people that had sexual harassment. So they're even making special funding for it because it's been going on forever. But I'm glad of the exposure, because as a woman, you want to know that you're respected, and the people that come to you have to follow a protocol, and you want to know that there is some type of discipline if I violate you. Not that it's going to be, a pat, like I know that must have been bad, but no, these people will actually lose their jobs regardless to their profession. And I also wanted to point out, we don't want to damage the profession of doctors, because we have a lot of respectable doctors and a lot of respectable senators and actors. So everybody isn't an abuser, but the ones that are, we need to deal with them individually.
And although obviously, as with domestic violence, the victims are most often women, there are men who have also been put through this. And I think it's really it doesn't have to do with gender, it's got to do with power. Who has the power? And that's why so often we are reluctant to challenge powerful people. We want to respect them. I think Jackie was talking about this when we were off the air. You want to trust your doctor. You want to trust your clergyman. You want people that you can rely on. We have to be a little willing to hear the voices of the weak. The powerful voices are heard. They can speak for themselves. We have to make an extra effort to hear the voices of the weak.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly.
Mr. Hader, what are your thoughts?
I am, what great discussion. I'm formulating my own thoughts here. And I'm wondering whether I am credible enough to really respond to this. Do I have those could I have done what Nassar did? Because I'm a man. I think about that. And but I would have to say, I hope not. And I think not. But he was a pedophile. And he'll probably make the world's Guinness Book for fiends. And I think it was right for the people at Michigan State University, the president, to step down. I think maybe some other people should be included in that, like the prosecutor. That had to leak out someplace. And maybe they did address it with law enforcement. So a lot of people, as you say, were probably guilty. And we can't have this happen again. And just because we correct things from Michigan State, like Michael says, it's likely to happen other places because we're human beings and we need to teach our kids to be cognizant of these touches that you were talking about. And I can't believe that a person would touch illegally 150, 160 women illegally over 20 years and nobody complained. I just wonder if my wife has ever been touched that way, or my daughter, or my granddaughter. These are things that I think about, and they're valid concerns. I just hope the young ladies, as Michael says, will do well during their life, although they have been violated and suffer through this embarrassment or whatever. But I wish the press and law enforcement or attorneys don't call these women victims. I mean, what do they call them?
Survivors.
Survivors.
Yeah, survivors.
Survivors. That's the wrong term. They are victims. They're victims. Survivors are people who are killed or suffer other
I
things.
think the idea of survivors, and you hear it used a lot, and I think perhaps maybe too much, but the idea is all of us in our lives go through traumas. I mean, that's just part of being alive.
Yeah.
But some things are particularly difficult, and some things come at a very early age when you don't have the defenses and the understanding. I think the idea of survivors, which is a very popular term these days, it's not about, okay, this happened, now you're broken, you're ruined, you're no good anymore. No, you are going past that. You are going to rise above that.
Yeah.
And
that's
the human,
what I like. I like to help raise these women up who have been
But
victimized.
it's a step.
Yeah.
But it's
See, because the first step is to say, okay, you did this to me, and then they had to face him. So I'm sure that was very hard, and I commend them for stepping.
But how you characterize the event is what I have a problem with. The overreaching. You want to say it so other people understand it and believe it.
But remember, Henry, you said earlier, and maybe it isn't what you meant to say, but when you say nobody complained, they did.
They did.
That's the shocking thing about this is
They complained
these young women
everywhere.
complained for years, and they were still sent back.
That
to
was
this
that was a
doctor.
misstatement. If I said that,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I apologize.
Because
for saying
then that goes back to, like you said, the leadership, because the young ladies were complaining, and what they were told is, we're handling it, we're taking care of it, we don't need you to do something different. So they were trying to discourage them for seeking help on their own. They were like, we're handling it. So you're pretty much like, okay, if you want to continue to stay here, they said they were a little aggressive. If you want to continue to work with us, let us handle it. And you've heard that a million times, let us handle it.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. And this is how they handled it. 20 years later, this is how they handled it.
And also, too, not only the MSU president and the Board of Regents and Nassar, he had help. He had associates. He wasn't doing this by himself. All right. He had other physical therapists working on his team,
Well, then,
and they should all be prosecuted.
well, now we're speculating. The women have not made accusations against.
No, actually, what they said was he personally came to. I mean, it was he was getting it in. I mean, he personally came himself to the hotel rooms. He personally came, and that's why they thought that he was such a great doctor, because they were like, he doesn't mind traveling, to go wherever. And normally, like you said, you would send an associate.
But you want
He
to
went
convict
himself.
the wrong. You want to convict the right people.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
And
He
we
went
all know
himself.
Nassar had an
Due.
agenda.
Give him his due.
No, he's had his day in court.
Yeah, 40
That's
to
what we've seen.
170.
Yeah.
He had his day in court, and that's over. And also, you've seen the athletic director resign. You've seen the university president resign. But I think the important lesson to draw is not just Michigan State University.
Yeah.
I think we have to be more conscious, more aware. When we hear someone complain, give people respect. Hear what they've got to say. Assume they're not lying. Start with that. It may turn out that, in fact, things aren't true. We have all seen unfair accusations. But you have to give someone who brings something to your attention. If you're a person in authority, you're on a board, you are an administrator, you are whatever you are, you're in this chain of command. Someone comes to you with your problem, it is your moral and legal obligation to take that complaint seriously, treat it with respect, and not just stop by somebody's office and say, hey Larry, somebody gave me some trouble. Oh, those girls are all hormonal, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, That's what happens.
Sure.
That's
People
right.
know their
That's
buddy
right.
and they say my buddy said it was okay, they're just talking.
Yeah.
You've got it. That's what good protocols and procedures are about.
That's
but
right.
as Jackie was talking earlier about Congress, the congressional protocol was designed to protect the member of Congress. It was to silence the accuser, to hide the accusation, and if it took a couple of $100,000 of taxpayers' money to pay them off and get the non-disclosure
So be it.
agreement signed, they're going to use their power to buy off the complaint. And there are people, I suspect we're going to find out, there are people who had dozens of complaints.
Oh, yeah.
Settled dozens at times. What was the other day, the president, it came out, for whatever reason, we do not know, gave a porn star $130,000, which is just enough to give her $100 and her lawyer $30. That's the way it works out. You don't give $100,000 or $130,000 for no reason. But there was that procedure, and is so often the case, as with Congress, the procedure is designed to shut up the victim.
Right.
So what we need to do is look at our procedures.
That's right.
And are our procedures open, transparent, and is there a fair way for the accuser, the victim, whatever term we want to use, a chance for him or her to have their day in not maybe in court, maybe in front of a committee, whatever,
But to be
a chance
heard.
to be heard.
To be heard.
And you and I have sat on a lot of boards, and one of the things that boards like to do is to protect the interest of the president.
Yes.
Or the interest of the group.
Right.
But that's not always good.
Yes.
Somebody can do something, and if you know somebody's been hurt, like the people who were hurt by the water crisis here,
Right.
there was an obligation of somebody to step forward and report that, rather than let it go for years, uncontested. Well, you have the same obligation when someone is hurt by
Any means.
the
I mean,
action
yeah.
of a sanctioned board. And this was a sanctioned committee or board, the NAACP and Michigan State Board was sanctioned.
You mean the Olympics Committee, not the
Yeah.
NAACP, the Olympics Committee.
No, not the
The NAACP too.
I bet every
We're
large
talking about
organization has
Michigan-
had this
We're talking
issue.
about closer to home, the Michigan State Board, who was most vulnerable and the most respected in this case of dealing with our students.
Right.
Those we can't protect the board or the president or be inclusion with them.
Right.
Because we're just as guilty.
because we like it and people
That's
around the
right.
state have voted us into that position. By the way, I remember I voted for you.
Thank you.
But just like Michael was just saying, even at the property that I manage, I tell my tenants all the time, I take every complaint as a complaint. and I investigate every complaint, because the first thing they'll say is, I didn't do this. I have to make sure I investigate. I don't just say, oh, this is something that, because I never know. It could be one of those days. You know, you did do it. So I take every complaint. So that, you know, we can use the same logic everywhere. When people come, you take it for what it is.
I don't mean to argue this to the point of disrupting the university with division or divisive politics. But you do need to work with the president of the university when you're on the board. But there are certain things that are dangerous to hide. And that's money and association with other people.
When you're hiding things, that's always whether it's government or private individual, if they don't want me to know something, that sort of makes me want to know what it is.
Right.
Well, that just makes me dig harder, because if I'm, you know, if I'm innocent, like I tell you I am, I mean, I'm not upset, I'm not hostile, but you know, when you get all worked up, I'm like, and so you're worked up because, I mean, why are you so worked up? Because if I didn't do it, I'm like, oh no, that's not, you know, and you just blow it off. But when people get like they're hiding, and then you find another untruth, and then you go down, you find another untruth. I mean, and it's just a whole collection of lies.
You know, and also too, since we're talking about this, and I think we're all in unison with this, we also must think about the private sector. You know, our families, our daughters, our sisters, our mothers. Okay,
and our sons.
And our sons.
There are men. It's usually women, but let's not ignore the fact there are men who are abused as well.
Exactly, and that what I do with my daughter ever since she's been going to the doctor. All right, I'm right in that examination room. Not when she's being examined. You know what I mean? Because I always step out.
You make sure that there's another.
I make sure there's no.
with her.
And if it's a male doctor, then it's going to be a female in there. All right. So if I got to leave, I want somebody in there with her. All right.
But with the changes, it can be a male. I mean, it can be a woman. I want, I want two people in there,
and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Because I want to make sure. Because sometimes people keep you honest. You know, just having somebody else right here keeps you honest, and it keeps you from doing things that you might be tempted to do that you're not ordinarily.
It's like we may all. I mean, there may be problems with police, but if there were no police, there'd be a lot more problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I just hope we don't, in 15 years, we don't have to go back and regurgitate this story.
I fear that.
I hope we get it right the first time.
to get it right, you gotta take it home. You got to take it home. We have to take this home.
Yeah.
We have to have conversations at our house, and we have to tell our young women and our young men, these are not good touches.
Well,
and you have to teach them at a very small age,
but
because
it's an institutional problem. You know?
No, it's a culture-wide problem, and it's too late to get it right the first time. We've been down this path a couple times before. Let's just hope we make some progress.
Yeah.
Let's make things better. And I think where we can look at as a society, aside from learning and understanding ourselves, because Lord knows I learn every day. There are things I didn't know were true a year ago, and now I know they are true. We have to look at systems. We have to look at protocols. Like I mentioned before, the Congressional Protocol for Sexual Harassment Complaints was completely designed to silence the accuser and protect
We need to talk about that. We need to talk about that a lot, because it's going to remain if we don't talk.
Well, it's up to us to inform our viewers, okay?
Yeah.
And in our private lives, and inform those folks in our in our sphere of influence.
yeah, it's hurtful to know that my tax dollars is going to cover up your stuff, but I can't get a grant to help things around here, but you can get some money to cover and be quiet. I mean, it just doesn't balance. It just doesn't. We have to hold them accountable, and that's, I think, is what's going to be the 2018. We're holding people more accountable to their positions, to their vote records, and all of these kind of things. And I think that will go back to like when these people go home and they have all these accusations, they're dealing with a lot when they go back to their home places, and people are.
To Michael's point, this is not the first time that this has happened. You want to start with 1789 and work up.
Well, just in my lifetime, I remember the Anita Hill controversy, and during the Clarence Thomas Supreme Court nomination. At the time, I was sympathetic to Thomas.
Right.
I did not believe Anita Hill at the time. 25 years later, maybe I'm a little more willing to open that door.
But
you know?
this has been going
They
on.
were very rough on her. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
very rough on her. She was on
But the
national
thing-
TV for hours, and they were talking to her like she was the only person that did anything. It was bad.
But what we have to do is change the way we train people who run for Congress and who serve in those positions, serve as heads of corporations and heads of institutions, because it is too easy to happen. You say that power is what drives us.
It's
If
been
that's
going on
true,
thousands
But
of
we
years.
can't
That's-
teach morals. That's something
Yeah, we
that you
can't
have to
teach
adopt
morals.
on your own person. I mean, each individual person, you
can't.
have to adopt your own morals, because I can have a position and I can have morals, and I'm not going to be tempted to do the things that you do. But if you just come in here and every way you go with it, you're going to get caught up.
Which is why you have laws. And as blunt an instrument as the law may be, we can't tell people what to believe, but we can tell them, if you behave this way, there will be consequences. And one of the problems with sexual harassment is consequences don't happen. People get away with it more
How
often
do
than
we
not.
change that?
I think the first thing is to make it expensive. I hate to say it, but if you get fined $100,000, maybe you'll think twice the next time. I think the Nassar case may sensitize a few people. There are two things. We as individuals, first of all, you try to behave properly, right? But also you try to be aware what's going on, where you work, where you worship, the clubs, the organizations you're part of. Be aware, be sensitive. But have systems set up to bring the truth out. It seems so much of our activity in politics and other things, it's all designed to suppress the truth. There are millions of people working
Right.
on hiding things all the time.
Instead
And
of being open. Yeah.
it's like, let the sun shine in, open the window. Sometimes the facts are ugly and unpleasant, and sometimes the truth will hurt. I'd rather get the truth that hurts than live a lie. And most of us, at least in part of our life, I'm sure I'm as guilty as anyone, we're living with some lies, and we don't even know we're living with lies. But the more truth we go in, get down in the dirt, wrestle with it, look it in the eye, and do the best you can. We're all imperfect, we'll all
That's
make
right.
mistakes, but let's not hide the truth anymore. Let's bring the truth out wherever we can, and listen to people when they speak.
How do we then become pontificated? Or
I can do that for you. I can pontificate all.
somebody wants to ride a white horse and be on a pedestal and be deified?
Yeah.
Well, those are things that we strive.
Humility. When the boss says it's this way, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If I think it's that way, maybe I've been right before, I've been wrong before. I may be right now, I may be wrong
Right,
now.
right.
Humility. Human beings, a little humility, and let's let the people speak. And be aware, when you've got the CEO against some sales clerk, let's lean a little bit on the sales clerk side, because everything else is on the CEO side. When it's the weak versus the powerful, let's lean a little bit to the weak, because the person at the top of the food chain, they're going to be okay.
I hope our audience is listening tonight, because those of us who we will support for positions of power in the future and encourage to go into industry and do those great things and become great educators, they need to hear what you just said. Sure, you want to be successful and deified and stuff like that, but the way you do it, according to you, Michael, is to be humble.
Well, you know, and I will give it to this, I don't know, the congressman, he's a Republican congressman, and he had some infidelity issues, and he had just had 2 kids, and he was on TV, and I mean, he did a commercial, and it just did not come across as genuine to me, because he was just like, my name is such and such, and I had a little infidelity, and my wife forgave me, so I'm running for such and such, like,
Yeah.
you know, Like, never mind what I did. I'm running for Congress again. I mean, and I think what we need to do is we're desensitized because it happens so much that, we're just like, oh, okay. Anytime a president can get up and say the words that he said and no one is like flipping out because he used some very harsh words for a person in such a high office. I'm gonna say that,
especially getting out of that bus,
because
coming off that bus.
When you're using those kind of words, to me, you're supposed to be the one that people use as an example. You're the model. You're supposed to be the role model for America, not just your group, but all groups. You're supposed to be the role model. And when those words come out of your mouth, and then when we hear about, violations of going inside of dressing rooms where people are undressed, and you, just because you are the producer of the show, you're able to walk through there, that power. Where does the power take you? Just because the power gives you a map to go in there, maybe you should not go. Maybe you should have a talk with yourself, or maybe we need to have more conversations about violating your power. Even though it's within your reach, maybe we should not reach for it.
But I would just listening at you talk and examining myself and my psyche. Would I walk into a woman's dressing room, even if I were the CEO? Right now, what my mind is telling me, no. So you can't condemn all men.
No, we're not talking about that. But that's because you have this thing called morals, and you're not going to do it because of who you are. Yeah. See, everybody don't have that conviction inside of them where they say, well, I might be hurting them, because you have daughters. So you're a little bit more sensitive to how you would treat somebody else's daughter. Should be. Because even with me as a youth leader, I don't allow my young men or my young women to hug me too much. You understand what I'm saying? Because I try to give them boundaries, because I don't want them to be so free with everyone. You know how sometimes you open up and then they're free with everyone. No, you don't want to give everybody a pass. You don't want to give everybody a pass. So we have to be careful. So my point is, you can have those same options, but that doesn't mean that you would choose them.
And I don't think anytime we discuss a situation like this, we ever want to take a situation of all men are like this, all women are like this, all black folk are like this, all white, all gay people, all that. No, I don't care what line you draw. Somewhere out there is a black Mormon Republican gun owner from Utah. There's nothing. It's 100%. Anything.
That's right.
Whatever we talk about, there are good people and bad people in every group, in every profession, in every field. We have to be aware there are bad people. I don't care if you're a bishop or a clergyman or a doctor. You might do bad things. Even good people who are good most of the time. Oh, they fell off the wagon here. Okay, but let's not pretend they didn't fall off the wagon.
With that, it's been a very wonderful conversation, very enlightening, very interesting. But we must bring the show to a close. This is Ronald Berry Robinson and friends saying, stay focused.